Hello, in this video we're going to cover the GIS planning for the campus RF survey. To lay out the planning for the survey buildings would be best done using a GIS system. So first we'll enter our base map, turn that on, and then the next thing is we'll add our grids. Go over here a little bit, put in the boundaries for the campus. So we can then add location numbers. So we can basically break down the campus into this puzzle-like boundaries that can roughly contain about 10 buildings per section. If we focus on just doing one section at a time, it'll help with the organization and keep people from scattering all over buildings from day to day. They can just stay in one section at a time. So if we take a look at how that planning might be, we'll take a look here at section number 1. And so we turn on these buildings, and then from here we can build attribute tables that can give us all kinds of information about the buildings. We can build an attribute table like this and have all kinds of information and fill this in about the buildings. And then each building can have data associated with it. And then we would just continue on with this in a similar pattern for the next cell. Same idea. Sections of buildings, and we can schedule these out accordingly. So the plan would be to build up an entire map and show the sections and the buildings and pull attribute tables for each section, and then keep track of progress, building square footage, anything else that we can think of that we want to track while we're doing it. We can just do that, put it all into an attribute table, and then associate those attributes with each individual building, similar to something like this. So at this point we only have the square footage, building type, and some database ID stuff, but we can certainly expand on that to add whatever we want. Next thing we'll want to do is using much of the base map data that we had created from the first diagram for the project planning, is we can also use the GIS map to display post survey RF levels. So taking our example from section 1, what we can do here, see if I can move this over a little bit so you can see it better in the screen. So the survey number 1's done, and we did this area right here. We can divide up by carrier. So in this case we'll see for Verizon. So these are just at this point, because the survey hasn't been performed, these are just sample examples. So let's say that for Verizon, each one of these buildings were surveyed, and on a whole we concluded that the building is in good shape, and therefore we'll make it green. We can come up with a different shading color pattern if we want. If the building is 80% or something, we can do an orange or something, or a yellow. So those things can easily be figured out. But and so we can say, and let's say these two buildings had issues, so we'll make them red. But that will be for how Verizon's doing. If we want to go ahead and check for AT&T, we can tell Verizon out there and just check AT&T. And here's an example. We'll say maybe these buildings didn't look so good for AT&T, and then we can of course drill into these if we wanted to. And like I had mentioned a little while ago, is maybe we don't like, we want to give this a little different color, because we've come up with some kind of color scaling pattern that if the building has, let's say, is only 75% up to par, we can give it a yellow. So now we'll make that particular building yellow now. And so as you can see now, rather is yellow. And then for instance, on the carrying along on that same theme, if we could go ahead and say Brian Hall is not so good, we'll call it orange, so we can do that. So we can pretty much color these however we want. This is we can come upon an agreed color scale and do that. But the point of this is we can, for each carrier, we can in the end of the day create some sort of map, probably pages of maps, because this might be too big if it was out like this. Yeah, maybe not, but to something to pass along to leadership if they want to know, show me a map of all the signal quality or building qualities for AT&T across the campus. So this would be, we could show them this map and it would help. And if they wanted a little more resolution, we could just say, okay, well, we'll just give you a page with like this much on it or something like that, and then that way we'll print out a page for here and a page over here so they can have a little bit more detail and maybe zoom in. Although these do print out at a pretty good resolution even when it's out like this. If you print this to a PDF and zoom in on it, the quality stays. So we have that going for us. So just an example of some high-level planning for GIS. Thank you.